Okay, reconnect. Cut that out. I didn't do that. I didn't flinch. Welcome back to Team O'Neill. I'm Wyatt. While the Ford Bronco Sport was really a necessary product for Ford to get the full-size Bronco through EPA regulations, a lot of people have fallen in love with this product. Whether it's the unique styling, the throwback to kind of the Bronco 2 aesthetic, or the fact it's built on the same platform as the Ford Escape and Maverick, we're here today to find out the only thing that really matters. Will it rally? All right, so the Ford Bronco Sport. What's the deal with this thing? Why did this even come into existence? You know, a lot of people wonder, why did they make the Bronco Sport? I don't like it, or whatever. They got a lot of feelings. The Bronco Sport is necessary. They had to make the Bronco Sport, kind of the Bronco Light, if you will, in order to get the full-size Bronco through the EPA gas guzzler tax regulation deal. Essentially, the EPA fines motor manufacturers if you have vehicles that don't make 22.5 miles per gallon on average. So for the same reason that Ford branded the Mach-E, the Mustang Mach-E, they made the Bronco Sport so that Broncos on average get better than 22.5 miles per gallon, thereby not getting fined something like $1,000 per unit for vehicles that they make. The only other thing to note before we start going hot and tearing around with this thing, we've had a lot of questions and comments about, oh, why don't you just pull the ABS fuse? Why are you driving around with ABS? For an example, with this car, we pulled all 3 ABS fuses. The car somehow it still has ABS, and you lose all-wheel drive. So we put them all back in and we're just driving it around normally. And for our trouble of having done that, pulling ABS fuses, we disconnected the ABS pump for a minute. We tried everything we could try. None of it actually worked. And in fact, it did kill the all-wheel drive on us. The other thing that happened is I don't have access to the drive modes anymore. Don't know why. I got no warning lights on, but my drive modes to go through my little goat modes and see what if I can do in desert mode and snow mode and sand mode, none of that works. All the fuses are back in, but I've lost access to that. So the best I can do right now, I can dive into this menu and I've turned traction control off. So that's great, you know. So we've got all-wheel drive, traction control off, ABS on, no matter what we do, and that's how we're going to be driving the car. So let's try this thing out on the skid pad a little bit. Get a little speed up, big lift, little brake. Okay, so these tires are actually quite a lot better than I thought they were going to be. I've got the traction control off, trying to feel if I've got any stability control or anything kicking on. When I do left foot brake, it cuts the throttle. That's normal with basically all modern cars, you know, but if you lift and then brake a little and then back to gas, ooh, the gas really does hesitate. When you lift and then re-accelerate, it's a bit before that re-acceleration kicks in, and it's more than just turbo lag. It's not turbo lag, it's something electronically happening. But this thing, quicker than it could be. I can get around here with a pretty good skid, but if I do and then I counter steer, yeah, the hood dropped down. As soon as I turn right, you feel the hood drop. That's because it electronically, it cut the throttle on me and or applied a little bit of brake to that outside front wheel. I'm not exactly sure. I need a few more runs to tell exactly what it's doing, but stability control is definitely active. That doesn't mean we can't slide, and that doesn't mean we can't have fun. We just need to learn how to talk to that stability control and keep it turned in. You know, if you've got a little skid going, you don't really need to counter steer. Don't. Just keep it turned in and ride it out. And you can get some pretty good slides going, even with stability control active. So one thing you need to be really careful about when you're driving around with stability control active, it's applying the brakes individually for you here and there, and you feel like, oh, that's fine, it's no problem. The issue is, I haven't touched the brakes really at all in this whole exercise, but when you get out here, there's a lot of heat coming off these brakes. And that was, you know, a few minutes of goofing around here on the skid pad, and this wheel is hot to the touch. I've seen it with, you know, steel wheels and plastic hubcaps. I've seen it melt hubcaps right off the car. You know, we're doing a course, we're doing some training with some normal cars with stability control on, and the hubcaps just melt right off in, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes of training. You're not even using the brakes that much. It's just because the stability control is. So if you're driving on the track, if it's summertime, if it's hot especially, really keep an eye on your brake temperatures, because you lose your brake pedal, you boil your brake fluid, it's all kinds of bad things are going to happen to you. If you're goofing around with stability control, you'll overheat the brakes without ever using the brakes. All right, so let's try this thing out on the slalom. In a situation where you're going back and forth more, you're linking turns together and you're skidding from one corner into the next, that transition can be a little awkward with stability control, but we'll see what happens. It lets you get away with enough that I think we'll be all right as long as we can come in here. Let's see if I can use a little brake and get a skid. Yeah, get it turned in. Yeah. Oh, it's cutting throttle on. Yeah, it suddenly feels a lot more intrusive. Whereas the skid pad, because you're holding that steering angle in, you can get away with more out here and you're going back and forth. The stability control is kicking in a lot more on you. The fix for that in these Fords, you know, the Broncos and some of the other SUVs, would be to go into that mud and sand mode, because it lets you get away with a whole lot more. But again, I'm not able to switch modes in this one for some reason. Could disconnect the battery and reconnect it and try and kind of restart the brain, but I don't know what we'd run to there if we did that. I'm going to give that a try in a minute. We'll disconnect the battery and reconnect it. But for now, stability control and ABS active coming in. Get it turned in. Yep, get it turned back. Yep, get it turned in. Okay, so the stability control technique, I like it. A little bit of brake. Yep, get it turned. Okay, so if you're working with stability control, it can do things that you can't do. You know, as much as everybody wants to say, I can outdrive the stability, I can turn it all off and I'll win the game, well, it can apply brake to individual wheels. You as the driver need to know how to tell it to do that, and the answer is come in hot, come off the throttle, turn in abruptly, use more steering angle than you might otherwise, and you can really get this thing through here quickly. You know, would I trust it in a tight situation? I don't know, but when you're out here, it can do some little magic tricks. But then when you reapply throttle, it's just not there. You know, there's a big gap between when you accelerate and anything actually happens. I will say that, you know, as far as different stability control systems are concerned, this is doing its job. You know, you can come into this fast and just turn back. I've got my right foot on the floor. I'm just turning back, right foot still on the floor. I've used no brake at all. Full throttle turning, just turning back and forth. Oh, it feels so wrong. It feels so wrong. But it's so right sometimes. It's okay. Curious how hot the brakes are going to be though. All right, so we still have some of those safety systems active, and we've tried pulling fuses, and the car just, sometimes they got to the point where it wouldn't even move. You know, the parking brake stays on and you can't even drive the car. So working within its little parameters, the best thing I can think to do is to change the drive mode, the goat mode in the Broncos, if you will, to that mud mode, hopefully, which right now is not available to me. So all I'm gonna do is disconnect the battery and reconnect it and hope that I get those drive modes back. If not, we'll do something else, but we'll see if we can figure out a way to drive this thing without stability control on. which is just all I'm going to do is pop the hot terminal off for 10 seconds and put it back on. Okay, reconnect. Cut that out. I didn't do that. I didn't flinch. All right. So let's see what we did. So yeah, I got nothing. Drive mode not available. Not sure why. Probably something we did earlier that it's not happy about. So we'll take it down to the shop and see if we can get stability control off. But if not, we'll drive with it because it is what it is, and that's what we're here for. So either way, it's going to be a good time. Just would like to turn it off and see what it's like. All right, so on the start line, Ford Bronco Sport. Since last we talked, I did take the center console apart under the drive mode switch to try and find a problem. There's no problem, but yeah, no drive mode. So I think it needs to be plugged into a computer. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go for it here. Around the normal Willet Rally loop, stopwatch, beautiful sunny day, tons of grip. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, nice down the hill. So, you know, plenty of grip through here. And with all of the systems active, I'm just gonna go for it through this. Squealing tires a little on the dirt, that's good. A little more power here would be nice. Transmission's a little slow to shift, automatic brake and get it turned in. Oh, that's understeer, but that's okay. Get it through here, back on the gas and go. The ground clearance is nice. I'm used to driving a car through here, and this, I can kind of cut a little corner here and there and not feel so bad about the suspension over some of the dips. It's ugly through there, but we'll take it. I don't think it's slow. Up the hill, long, kind of medium right. When you dab the brakes on the way to the corner and then re-accelerate, it doesn't re-accelerate. Like there. You know, you brake a little, you get turned in, you get back on the gas, nothing happens. And it's not lag, it's the computer coming into this guy. So I'm just getting on the gas earlier than I want the gas to happen. Sort of like turbo lag. And you know, it is a 1.5 liter, and part of it might be the turbo lag with this thing, because it's not going to make much power until that EcoBoost kicks in. Down this little bit of a straight with all the bravery I can muster on these pebbles. Scrub speed, no handbrake, just get it turned. And again, if that stability control kicks in, fine. You know, as long as you're turning into a corner and holding that steering through a corner, let the stability control do its thing. Speed down the hill. Stopwatch in hand. Here comes the finish line. Now we're doing 70. That's pretty good. Stop. Thing will not stop. 159.31. I don't really know if that's good or not. Ooh, smell the brakes cooking. So in 2 minutes, yeah, it smells like brakes big time. All right, so this 2020 Ford Bronco Sport just made it around the loop in 159.31, which means that it's the fastest of any of the cars we've actually used out here in the summer. That might be soon to change, but for now, this is the fastest thing with a license plate on 4 wheels that's been around this track in the summertime. It was a grippy day, I'll give it that, but also this vehicle, if I were going to try and go a little bit quicker, really the first thing I do, other than the safety systems, would be get rid of a little bit of that turbo lag and maybe see about sharpening up the shift points in the transmission somehow, if it would hold gears a little better. And you know, if you could get that turbo to spool up a little quicker, that would be wonderful. But again, it's, you know, it's almost 4,000 pound vehicle with a 1.5 liter engine. So turbo lag is kind of to be expected. All in all, it did fantastic. You know, even these tires did great out there, and I'm super happy. I had a good time, and for today, that's all that matters. So for now, 159.31 is the time to be. If you've got any questions or comments on this vehicle or anything else we've done, just go ahead and hop in the comment section and we'll see you there. If you're interested in driving school, taking some classes, learning some rally stuff, left foot braking, check out teamoneil.com. Subscribe to the channel and we'll catch you next time.